Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me on another episode of The Art of Comic Writing. I'm your host, Jorge Medina. That's George with a J. And before we get to it, I will ask that you subscribe, like, and even more importantly, share this video. Share it out with anyone who has ever attempted to write a comic, a book, shoot, even a poem. People who maybe want to know how to do so, how to put it out there, what are the best practices. I am going to be interviewing a lot of writers on the show that will give you insight on how to do things the right way, the wrong way, things that they hope they would have done. And so I think it's a very informative show that you don't want to miss. So share it out. And so that you don't miss any of the shows, make sure you hit the notification bell. That will remind you when a new show is coming up. I try to do this weekly. So let's get it going. All right. Now, it's time for a word from our sponsor. Do you have the next best-selling comic book idea but have no idea how to get started because you're an artist and not a writer, or vice versa? Then go to globalindiegroup.com and find exactly what you're looking for. Gig has a list of writers, artists, editors, colorists, letterers, even podcasts on the platform to help you bring that comic book to life. Sign up today to get started, and make sure you provide the promo code WRITING at checkout for a discount. What are you waiting for? Go to globalindiegroup.com today and get started on the next best-selling comic book you've been waiting to create. All right. So you wrote a book. You hired an editor to clean up, some of the errors, pacing, etc. Then, because you went to globalindiegroup.com, right? You found an amazing artist that she totally complements the story. You're excited because they agreed to draw it, color it, and even letter it. Things are looking great. Every time you get a page from the artist, I don't know about you, but every time you get a page from the artist, it's like Christmas morning. You turn into a 5-year-old kid opening up that brand new toy from Santa. You even drop some more cash to get this bad boy printed, and now it's in your hands. But what do you do now, right? How do you get it to the masses? I guess it's time to put your business hat on and get to promoting and marketing. But how? How? My guest this week has managed to turn an idea into a very successful comic book and comic book company using some great marketing. And we're going to talk to him about how. Plus, we are going to be giving him a writing prompt as a parting gift, like I like to do on this show. All right. Okay. So, without further ado, please welcome a gentleman that I have a lot of respect for and admiration. He has managed to build a very successful brand through sheer will and determination, and his brand does nothing but put out quality comic books in a very competitive industry. He is the man behind the Ethereal comics. Please welcome Mr. Dustin Burnell. What's up, Dustin? How are you, my friend?
Dude, we are loving life, man. We're loving life.
Awesome, brother. So listen, I brought in Dustin because, like I mentioned in that opening, he is a hard-working man. He has tons of stuff going on. He's a writer and he's very good at what he does. Trust me, I have read a lot of his books. We're going to talk to him today, obviously, like I do every week, about writing. I have some questions that I have prepared for him. We're going to discuss them. At the very end of the show, I am going to ask him to, when the show ends, write something based on a prompt that I have put together that he doesn't know what it is yet, but I will tell him before the end of the show. Now, also, as part of that, if you guys want to get involved, you can. If you decide that you like the prompt, write something, email it to me. My email will be in the show notes, and I will post it on my website, getyourmedzinfo.com. But you look like you're very busy, Dustin. I love the books back there. I love all those.
Oh my gosh, it's a mess. Get out of here.
I love it.
Mess.
It just shows how hard you work, man. I love it.
A mess. No, man, there's oh my gosh, there's so much. So much.
Well, listen, you have tons of books that you have put together in the last, I don't know, maybe 2-3 years that you've been doing this. There are a lot of books, and I know that you have an array of characters that you write, and male, female, dinosaurs.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter. You do it.
Bunny rabbits, you name it.
Bunny rabbits. Oh, I love that. I love if it hops. If it hops, is off the hook. Now, let me ask you this though: is it difficult for you to write characters of the opposite sex? And how do you approach it?
I don't think it's difficult. I think we use our experiences in life
Mm,
to create these characters, right? So like if I knew a punk rock chick in like high school, I use her to build that character. You know what I
oh,
mean?
okay,
Or
okay.
how they would respond to the way I acted, or girls I dated, or how they would act or respond to situation and stimulus,
Got it.
Um, and I'm also a big reader. I've been reading all my life, man, and movies and all that good stuff. So it's
Yeah.
like, and I've been married for 15 years almost. So it's like I try to pick up here or there
Yeah.
how to do things. But I don't think that, as funny as it is, I don't think men and women are as fundamentally different
Mm,
as we act. You know
mm,
what I mean?
mhm,
It's more or less a dialogue choice
mm.
that is one of the main differences outside of your physical body. It's a
Sure.
dialogue thing and how you respond and you react to stimulus.
Mm.
So, I don't think it's hard to write chicks, man. I have a lot of fun writing them.
Yeah, so it almost sounds like it's almost sounds like it's a personality thing.
For
If
sure.
if if this person, and forget about man or female, if this person
Exactly.
is this way, then this person's going to act this way. If this
That's it.
person is this other way, they're going to act this way, and that's as simple as it gets. Like it, why complicate it? In other
Right.
words,
You don't need to make it difficult, right? Like
right?
I said,
Yeah.
the only thing that I really stress is the dialogue choices.
Mm,
When you go in and you're speaking from female character's perspective, you want to make sure that you would use dialogue
mhm.
that a female character would use. Not to say that they're not going to say, "Hey, dude," or "Hey,
Right,
man," or "Hey, this or that,"
right.
but generally speaking, they're going to speak a little bit differently.
Mm,
So
mhm.
you want to make sure you do that. The hardest character I had to write was when
Yeah.
I very first started, and when I created Maya, it
Mm,
was from Babes, Gore, and Dinosaurs, and she speaks Spanglish,
right.
and
Yeah.
I am very much needing it to be perfect, right? It needs to be perfect.
Absolutely.
So I was reaching out to friends that I knew that could literally banter back and forth with me
Hmm.
so I could get the perfect dialogue.
Right. Right.
Like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
how would you talk?
Yeah, and let
You
me
know
tell
what
you
I mean?
something. Let me say something. I read. I mean, I've read that book. I've read,
Yeah,
Babes, Gores, and Dinosaurs. You guys have to get that. But I've read it, and yes, and I'm Hispanic. So
right,
when I read that character, dude, I was like, yo, does Dustin have some Spanish in him? Like, how did he get that so straight? Because it is,
yeah,
and we forget, like as a Hispanic male, or even within my community, when I was growing up, learning the language, and with my sister and then my cousins and stuff, we spoke Spanglish. That's just the
right,
way we rock. Like
right.
we did that. And so the fact that you brought that into this character and made it true to that character, whether it was a male or a female, it didn't matter. It sounded real.
I
And I
appreciate that. It,
appreciated
it
that
was
about
very
that character.
important that I respected the culture.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because and when I put out the listener, I wanted everyone to respect the native culture so much that when I
Mhm.
went into BGD, I was like, there's no other option. We have to
Right.
do it exactly like it should be done. And you'll notice also there's no translation boxes
Right.
in
Right.
Babes, Gore, and Dinosaurs
Mhm.
because I always want people to be able to relate to her as a character.
Yeah.
So if you're reading her, you should be able to tell what she's saying by the
Mhm.
situation, by her emotions, by her, how she's carrying herself, and if you can't, I'm happy to, help you out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I feel like it takes away a little bit from the flavor when you add
Mm.
the translation box
Yeah.
because it's like when you're watching a movie nowadays, right? If you're watching a movie and the director doesn't want you to know exactly what that individual is saying,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and if you get it, you get it, but you should be able to like I also believe that BGD is a book, and most of our books are that even if it didn't have dialogue, you should be able to understand it. You should get it, So no, I'm absolutely in love with her, and she's the hardest thing I've written till now.
Okay. So that's a good segue to my next question, which is, what is the most difficult part of the writing process for you?
So again, my team likes to tease me a lot because I get real in, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I get
Mhm.
real in. And so we just put out Frog Legs
Okay.
and It was a great success. I appreciate everybody getting behind it and enjoying it and stuff. But it's about a Cajun individual. So writing in Creole
Mm.
was a whole different animal for me. You know, like I don't know anybody from Louisiana. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that speaks old school like right there in it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
because it's like a mix of French and other languages, you know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Hmm.
So I I literally took a course. Like I paid for a course to watch these
Wow.
videos and
Wow.
learn how people talk. Not that I could ever do it, but it's enough that I understand what's happening so I can put it on paper. You know, like it was so important to me because Creole is one of those languages that you don't forget. Like if you see it, that you know that's what it is. Like Gambit, you know, and the X-Men and
Right.
stuff.
Right.
When I found out that that was a bunch of, you know, malarkey and whatnot, I had to make sure that my dude was like legit, you
Legit.
know.
Right. Yeah.
But at the same time, when you go to take a course or learn about a language, you're learning the proper pronunciations and stuff. It's but to do Creole now for a comic book is just like Spanglish.
Hmm.
So I literally had to go in and find people that could converse and help me get the dialogue down
Wow.
because I wasn't going to give you guys anything that wasn't right, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, that's been the hardest thing. But when it comes to writing, the
Yeah.
hardest part about writing um is, believe it or not, the factual aspects of things. And it's funny because most of the things in Ethereal's books are, we try to keep real to like as real as we can while we're suspending your disbelief already, you know. So like if a car can drive on a surface, it should be able to drive on a surface. If it can't, it shouldn't be able to, you know.
Mhm.
Even though we're adding fantastical elements to all these stories, we still want to keep a like a modicum of reality in what you're getting. You know, like with If It Hops, you know, we knew what everybody wanted to see at the beginning of the book, so we gave it to you the very first 2 pages so we could continue past that point. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
We
Right.
knew what we were walking into.
Hmm.
So, but when it comes to like storytelling, your fans are going to come out, and we appreciate it. Trust me, because I've learned a lot. Your fans are going to come out and they're going to be like, "Hey, that didn't. How does that work?
Yeah. Yeah.
Space travel this, or you know, quantum physics this. How does it work?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I first started putting books together, I was like, you know, this is great, this is da 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 da. And then I started learning, holy crap, I have to understand the science of
Right.
what we're putting down.
You know, and I appreciate you say that because, and I was talking to, I think I had spoken to a friend of mine, Mark Torres. He has a podcast called It Came from the Radio. Big shout out to
Oh,
him.
cool.
We were talking about this, about writing and rules. And I
Mhm.
think that what you're talking about, obviously, there's a lot of research that should go into good writing, right? There's a lot
For
of
sure.
research. You
Yeah.
should you should you should learn as much as you possibly can about the subject you're writing about, so that when it comes out, it does come out authentic. But also, I think part of the fun of writing sci-fi or writing something that's not real is that you can make up your own rules. But
Yeah,
I think that also entails the fact that if you have a rule in place, you cannot break that rule within your
absolutely.
world, because then the world falls apart. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, so in that regard, it's like I don't like rewrites.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
so I avoid anything like that, like the plague. So if we put it down on paper
Right.
and it's solid, it stays. You know,
Hmm.
we don't go back and second guess ourselves, because that's when you start stepping on your own toes when you're putting a story together. You start going, oh, well, you know, what about this or what about that? Like right now, we have, I'm a big fan of the 6 additional pages. We have
Okay.
unlocks with our campaigns for 6 pages always. And it's full story pages. It's not like you're just getting a bunch of random art pieces. It's full story pages. And with those 6 pages, I like to give you additional story that we may not have been able to give you in the main title.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? In the actual book itself. And it's a lot of fun to me. Like we have a book, a mini series out that's in the back of BGD called Stitches.
Right.
And it's literally about a serial killer that's, making a suit of flesh for his wife. But I digress. It's a very interesting thing when you
Very
can. Oh, it's a lot of fun, but you can. But people ask, so if you've created that law is fixed.
Right.
Don't mess
Right.
with it. You know
Right.
what I mean? Because now you're going. Now you're going to have questions. Why did that change, or who changed that? Who said it could be changed?
Right. Right.
So now you're going. Well, now I have to make a story arc to make this make sense that this changed. Whereas with a comic book nowadays, you're going to pay between $12 to $20 a book, generally speaking, and for something of quality anyway. And it's if people are going to pay that, their hard-earned money, especially in this day and age with what they're putting away or what they're doing and what they've gotten to go in their lives, you want to make sure that you're giving them the best quality content you can. So you don't want to walk over yourself, like waste pages. You don't want to go back and have to retell a story on why you changed the law that you set in place originally.
Right. Right.
You
Right.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. Now let me ask you this, Dustin.
Mhm.
To get to where you are, as far as, I mean, obviously you have a lot going on. You have different stories that you're working on. That's going to be one of my other questions. But
Mhm.
how many hours a day do you write?
So right now,
Mhm.
it's generally 2 to 3
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
But when that's just because right now we're literally, I think we're like 15 books ahead right this second.
Yeah.
So normally, if I'm behind or not behind, but if I'm working on normal schedule, I'll sit down for 12 hours and not leave my office, for anything but food for 12 hours. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
And
Right.
I'll rock out an entire issue in 12 hours.
Wow.
And then I'll turn around and go, the next day I'll go, well, what are we doing next? What other project needs an attention? Like right now we have 15 IPs. There's always something that needs attention.
Yeah.
So you turn around and you're like, oh, look at this amazing campaign. They've reached the point where they get the additional pages. So then you'll sit down and you'll spend 4 to 6 hours working on those pages that you added, or you're going to add.
So, all right. So here's here's and I know the answer to this question. I do
Mhm.
because I know you, and I've known you for quite some time.
Yeah.
And the question is, do you ever work on multiple projects at a time? And the answer is yes, you do.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, the question though, the follow up to that is, and
Mhm.
for anybody who watching who maybe has tons of ideas but is afraid to start working on too many for because they may get lost. How do
Yeah.
you keep them straight? How do you keep these ideas or these books all straight? How do you do it?
I tend to work on a book at a time. I don't really, unless it's like the additional pages that, like I mentioned a minute ago, I really don't jump between books.
Got it.
Like when I'll get real excited, right? Like I know I'm jonesing to write about a certain book.
Mhm.
So I jump down, I write about that book till it's done, till that energy is run out. And then I'm like, oh, okay, well, I got a new issue, or I got 2 new issues rocked out because that's how much like energy I had for that particular project.
Mm.
And then I'll put that project away. Now, like most folks put out 3 or 4 books a year. You know what I mean? If that.
Yeah.
We put out 2 books a month.
Right.
So what I do is I put it away for a minute, because it's going to be, let's say it's due in 2.5 months.
Right.
Okay. Project's due in 2.5 months. I get it done. Like I get it done, ahead of time. So I don't have to stress coming up on that time period where we're like, oh, well, because you've also got your artists writing, or not, I mean, not writing, but doing the pages at the same time, you know? So you're
That's
going, I just need to work on this and give it all my focus.
right.
Because as a writer, I find that if my mind wanders, I don't give the project the attention that it needs that I'm working on.
So you're hyper focused on one at a time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I got
Because it's very much like we started, I don't know, we were working on something the other day. Oh, it's been about a month and a half. We're working on a book about a month and a half ago, and all of a sudden I had this idea, and I was like, I had sworn up and down I'd never write about, and I had all up and down that I would never do, you know, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's like me and superheroes. You'll never see me writing about superheroes. But
Right.
I turned around and I was like, I'm gonna write that. That's a really dope idea.
Okay.
So I not the superhero book, but another book. But anyway, I was like, I'm gonna put it down. And next thing you know, there are 14 cover artists on it, an
Oh my.
editor on it, and I was making phone calls left and right,
Oh,
like,
dude.
because it was such a solid idea, and
Oh,
I
that's
just
amazing.
wanted the team's opinions and their thoughts on it and stuff like that, and next thing you know, Cretaceous was put together, and I wanted, Cretaceous Biohazard was put together, and it was so much fun to me because I don't know what I was doing, but I was like, "This is gonna be amazing," and I just started putting it together, and I was like, "Well, it's got elements that our fans enjoy,
Mhm.
so I'm just going to compound on those elements," and it's the first time in a long time that I've just written a feel good, like, romp.
Let me tell you something, man. Watching, and I've been I've been a fan of the work you put out, but watching it evolve, dude, has been so much fun to watch
I
and
appreciate
be a witness to, right? And I guess this is why I kind of want to have you on the show as well, because I think that there are a lot of questions within, people who are starting out, indies and things like that
for
about,
sure.
man, I'm a writer, but I don't know how to promote myself. I don't know how to work on certain books. Like,
Yeah.
what am I supposed to do? So I guess, and this is the part of the show where it's almost like the topic of the show, right? And it's how to market your comic book as an indie. So
Mhm.
my question is, what has given you the best results to
Um
market your books?
So when I first started, I was publishing for other companies. I was writing for other companies. I wrote for Cowabunga, then I wrote for Totally Rad, and I realized I needed to do my own thing, right?
Mm.
But that was because I was scared to do my own thing. I think we're all like that. We really don't know how to direction to go in. We feel like we need somebody at our back. You know what I mean? I paid for an agent, which was stupid. Don't do that. Don't pay for an agent. I did that. I did a lot of stuff, but no one tells you otherwise. You know
Right.
what I mean? No one,
Exactly.
as a writer, it's like you're really trying to get out there and be seen,
Mhm.
and but, I was just talking about it on Facebook the other day. We're never gonna be the lead singer of the band. That's just not gonna happen, especially
Yeah.
in comic books. Maybe in novels. In novels, you can be your lead singer,
Right.
but in comic books, you're not gonna beat out your cover artist. You're not gonna beat out your interior artist, you know.
As a
But
writer, you mean? As a writer, you mean?
right, exactly. As a writer, you're the guy that wants the band to get to the show.
Mm,
That's
interesting.
you,
Okay.
and it's a phenomenal sensation, right? Don't feel bad that you don't get to be the lead singer of the band,
Right.
because the band doesn't come together without the drummer. There
Mm,
is no band without a drummer. There is no band without the dude putting everybody on the tour bus, getting them to go where they want to go.
sure. Yeah.
There's no band. So, you know, and it's funny because when you look at things and you're like, as a writer, you see guys put their art out, right? You see them put their art out, and the artwork's beautiful. It's
Mhm,
great, and
mhm.
people they pick up jobs because of the artwork, right? Um, it's different for you as a writer, because if people realize you're a good writer, you're not fighting no more.
Right.
You're a good writer now. There's no fighting. Now you're just showing people the product, making sure you show up with the band, and when it comes to being a lead guitar or lead singer, your artists, your cover artists and whatnot, those cats scrap for jobs.
Right.
They're scrapping for jobs. And um, you don't have to do that. You just have to get to the point where people know you exist. Like, I've written in the past 3 years, I've written probably 50 different comics. I've written a couple tabletop games. I've written a movie script for a company.
Wow.
I've done a lot of things, and um, those are the things you have to keep your options open. You know, it may not be something you normally do, but it may be something that can elevate you to the point where people know who you are. Maybe even just a few people know who you are. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to be thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people.
Do you think then that part of the marketing of a comic relies somewhat on the names that are working on the comic? Is that
Um,
fair to say to a certain
I,
extent?
I, I think it's very fair to say. When I first started, I had to be on every show I could possibly get on and be seen everywhere I could possibly be seen.
Yeah.
And that's the way to go to start, because
Yeah.
you want people to at least know your face, you
Mhm.
know, or have a conversation, or you know, like I made my Facebook profile open so that people could reach out and talk to me.
Yeah.
I think that's important that people know that you're a person.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I do have people that handle my social media, but I also want to be available to people.
Yeah.
You know, as kids, we weren't our comic heroes weren't available to us, or our favorite writers or our favorite actors or whatever. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and now I feel like we live in a world where it's okay to be available, not be crazy, but
Right.
be available.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean? Like if someone reaches out, you should be able to, you know, you should be able to like. I'm not saying that Harrison Ford is going to answer your text message,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, but you know,
Right. You never
nowadays
know.
though, you know,
Mm.
nowadays it's not like a crazy thing to think of that it wouldn't be possible,
It's
you
true.
know. So
True.
as long as people are respectful, I think that makes it an easy thing to do. Um, so that's marketing as well, you know, making sure
Mhm.
that people know that you're a decent person.
Right.
And one thing with indie comics that I think people miss a lot is you're marketing yourself.
Yeah.
You're not just selling your products, you're you know, you're selling yourself as a human. And so if you surround yourself by good humans, then you know it's much easier to market your products because people want to support good people,
Right. That
you
is
know,
true.
and I dig that. You know what I mean? I dig that a lot. Like
Yeah.
I follow this man. I follow all the meds, you know, I'm about it. So there's a there's concepts where when you watch people and you see them and how they carry themselves and how they act with folks, it makes you want to support them. It makes you want to be around those people. It's
Right.
like when you were a kid in high school or whatever, and you had the you know the pretty girls or the you know the mega popular dudes and whatnot. You know, at one point in time, you wanted to be their friend. Maybe not at all the time,
Right. Right.
but at one point in time, you wanted to be their friend,
Right.
regardless of whatever situations came up. At least once, you wanted to be that person's friend.
Yeah.
And because of what they brought stature, they brought all kinds of other stuff with them.
Mhm.
You know, so as a creator, surround yourself by like minded individuals. You know, I mean, they have your back. They
Yeah.
want to work with you. They want the project to succeed, you know, and they can see it in you. Um, another big thing about marketing when it comes to names is don't just grab a cat because they're cheap.
Mm.
You know,
Mhm.
you know, you're liable to get what you pay for.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
one of the biggest things that I can tell you about comic books is it takes pockets. It it really takes pockets. You know, I think my first issue was like $5,000 in production.
Right.
My very first issue, and let me tell you, it hasn't gone down since. So it's
I'm sure it's
it's
probably gone up. It's probably
yeah,
gone up
it,
since.
it's gone up a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's just it's one of those things where having a dream is great, but prepare yourself for it. Everybody wants in this industry, but
Mhm.
you have to go out and you only may get one shot. So,
Right.
like I said, give it 110% when you go in. And that's the best way to market yourself positively. Go out with a good attitude. You know, I know my product's good, you know, just go out there and let people know.
I
You know,
love
it's
that.
it's a good product, it's positive,
Mhm.
you know, and if you're marketing for a certain type of product, which I didn't do because again, no one told me, but it's like if you're gonna write a horror book, market to horror groups, market to horror conventions, market to who's gonna buy your book, you know. But again, you have to have a team of or a contractor or whoever to you know we don't use contractors, so whatever whatever you're doing, you need to make sure that you have someone there that's going to back you up. You don't want to pay for the dude that is not going to talk about your product, doesn't care about it. It's just a check. You don't want that. It's not going to help you in the long run.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, great advice. Great advice, Dustin. Listen, I have one final question for you before our prompt. Here
Please.
it is. You ready?
I'm ready.
What's your favorite YouTube channel and why is it Get Your Meds?
I'll tell you exactly why it's Get Your Meds. I will tell you exactly why. First off, I have no time to watch YouTube. But when it comes to why I listen to your shows is because it's very positive energy.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something that the world needs more of. So if you're going to be uplifting, if you're going to be out there, that gets people's attention. And I'm like a sponge of emotion.
Mm.
So if there's a lot of like anger or sadness around me and stuff, I start being that person,
Right, right,
you
right,
know?
right, right,
So
right.
I would much rather be around positive energy than negative.
Mm.
So like people will be like, well, we're talking about what's going on in the world. I don't give a stuff. You know what I mean? I as long as my family's okay and my friends are
Right,
okay,
right.
whatever. So I would much rather focus on projects we're working on, projects my friends are working on that I can support, or in general, just a good day. So when I get up at like no joke, I tend to listen to you guys once or twice a week. So if I get up and it's a good day, I'm feeling good, I'll throw you guys on while I'm sitting and cooking breakfast or whatever's going on, and so on and so forth. But that's why it's very positive, and I think people can gain a lot of good, like um not just energy, but facts and
Yeah,
help. Because again, no one comes out and tells you guys how to succeed. I
right.
mean, no one came out. I swear to you, in the 3 years, no one came out and was like, "Hey, I'm going to make you a star, or I'm going to
Yeah,
make you famous, or I'm going to make you
doesn't happen.
succeed."
Yeah, doesn't happen.
Not a single person came
Right.
out and was like, but I'll say this, when when you find your actual team, and that's what you need to look for, I promise you. When you find your actual team, they will be uplifting and they will get you where you want to be. So yeah, it's that's it, man. That's why I listen, because you
I
guys
love
give
it.
people good information, you're positive to folks, and I mean you're there, you're
Yeah,
present, and I
yeah.
dig it, man. For
This is
sure.
and that's exactly why I wanted to expand it to something like this, where it could help writers who are trying to, because I feel like writers, and we mentioned it, you mentioned this a little bit, we aren't the lead singer of the band when it
Nope.
comes to comics, right? And so when you notice there are a lot of, whenever you go to a podcast and they're focused on a book, they're going to show the artwork and look how
That's it.
beautiful that page looks and
Mhm.
but very little is done about the craft of writing and making those pages look the way they look, because somebody was
Absolutely.
actually telling that artist, hey, we should draw this page like this,
Right.
So I definitely wanted to do that, and I thank you so much for coming on. I have
Oh,
one
man.
more thing for you, which is a little homework assignment that I have
Yeah,
for
yeah.
you, Dustin. So in your time, I mean, listen, you don't have to do this tonight. You
I'm
can do this
excited about
whenever you want. 15 minutes, take 15 minutes. And this is your writing prompt. One night in a desolate hotel. That is your writing prompt. Okay.
it. Okay.
You're gonna write about that. If you like it and you want to share it with the world, email it to me. I'm gonna post it on my website.
Mhm.
Again, the prompt is one night in a desolate hotel. So have fun with that. D, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you so much. All the information for Dustin is going to be in the show notes. Guys, thank you for joining us tonight. And
Thank
we're,
you,
we're,
man.
we're going to talk soon, Dustin. All right.
Yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
my brother.
I appreciate you.
Peace.
Be good.
All right. And there you have it, everyone. That was my special guest, Mr. Dustin Brunel, talking about marketing and promotion. Now, if you have other ways that you promote, or you agreed or disagreed with what we talked about on the show, put it down in the comments below. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think. And I appreciate every single one of you for tuning in this week. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, share this bad boy out, share it. Share it with any writer that you know, or if you're a writer and you have other writing buddies, share it with them. Let them know we're here. We're on YouTube. Get Your Meds is the name of the channel. Please do so. Big shout out to the sponsor of the show today, Gig. I'm very excited about the fact that they're sponsoring the show. Check out globalindiegroup.com. Don't forget to put writing as the promo code on the way to checkout. Make sure you do that. And join me next week when my guest will be Jason McNamara. I'm very excited about this interview. I love his work. He's done a lot of stuff. He's got a book out through Dark Horse Comics called Past Tense. So make sure you tune in for that. That's all I got for today. Thank you again for tuning in. And guys, don't forget, keep writing. Peace.